Welcome back to another week where I talk about the 48 and 46 news. And be sure to stick to the end to see the worldwide news that's happening with Keyakizaka46 and be up to date with it. Now, the first bit of news I want to talk about is about SKE48. Now, if you remember, I talked about their new auditions that's going on Showroom Live, and actually 23 of those members have passed. In the beginning, it was just 21 members, but then afterwards they included 2 more during the press conference. Which is great for them because I feel like SKE really needed new faces. I feel like they're one of the weaker groups in terms of popularity, so maybe with these new members, it'll bring more popularity towards them. And next is something I talked about last week, which is the anime characters that Akimoto Yasushi is actually making. And they just revealed the last 4 characters recently. Now, as you can see, these 4 characters are a little bit different. Some of them look a little similar to each other, but there's one that kind of sticks out, and it's the one with the blue hair and covering the eyes. I feel like this really doesn't match other stereotypes of anime idol kind of things, which is different. So I don't know how the Japanese audience is going to receive this character. I know in anime there's characters like this, so I'm not too sure how well it does in the Japanese eyes. And next is actually about Watanabe Mayu's photo book. If you guys haven't seen my review of this photo book, then I recommend you guys watching it. And remember, it's through a photographer's perspective, less of a fan's, as it says in the description below. The results for the photo book came out, and it's actually number 1 in photo books and in general books. So it's done pretty good. The actual number of sales that it got is 37,000, which is a pretty big number, considering that the next number I'm about to say is for Yamamoto Sayaka's first album. And they got 50,000 copies sold, which actually only ranked 3rd in the Oricon sales charts. This is great for them considering that Takahashi Minami's album only sold close to 10k the first week, which compared to Yamamoto Sayaka's 50k, it's drastically different. And even a photo book sold more than the album. So I'm not too sure what that says about the sell numbers for Takahashi Minami. But on to the graduated members now. And the only bit of news I have is actually considering a new album release. And this is the 2nd album release for a former AKB48 member, Iwasa Misaki. Now, the promotional video, the whole album art, everything's been released, and it's actually going to come out pretty soon. It's coming out November 30th, so that's like less than a month away. Now, looking at the history of this girl, it seems like she didn't rank so well in the Senbatsu, but she's actually been there since 2008. So, I mean, if she has 2 solo album releases, I mean, she must be kind of popular, right? And even looking at her face, it seems familiar, but I can't exactly remember who it is, so be sure to leave me down in the comments below and remind me who it is if you know. And now we move on to the Nogizaka and Keyakizaka news. Now, the first bit of news is that Takayama Kazumi is actually doing another PR move. If you remember before, I mentioned how she and Akimoto Sayaka are actually in the marathon PR, but now she's doing a different kind of PR. And this is for a nursing care program. And it's actually pretty cool because she's going to be like on papers and distributed towards like 7-Elevens and even different schools. But it isn't nationwide. It's only in Chiba Prefecture, but it's still pretty cool having like your face on like promotional material for like 7-Eleven, for train stations, for the schools. That's a cool feeling, and I can imagine it's a great moment for her. Now, another bit of Nogizaka46 news is that if you remember the 3rd generation, which recently did the press conference thing, where they showed every member and we got the temporary center. Well, they're actually going to hold a fan meeting, and that'll be December 10th, 2016. And actually, the tickets are only like $10, like 1,000 yen. So it's pretty cheap to go see them. And I can imagine the people who are in Japan, you should definitely go see them and see what the 3rd generation is all about. And the last bit of news is actually the main topic of this week. And it's actually gone a little bit worldwide of what this sort of scandal has been going on. Now, the news with Keyakizaka46 is that they actually are being related to Nazi propaganda. And that's because of an outfit they wore during a Halloween event. And this television program was actually with the whole group that sings "I'm a Perfect Human." But thanks to this incident, it actually got canceled as being replaced with a whole different program. But the incident that I'm talking about is with the Nazi-related propaganda. Well, as far as some people say. And that is actually that they wore Nazi-related outfits. And I mean, if you squint really hard and like twist your head a little, you could kind of see that it looks a little Nazi related, but I think it's just like military inspired in general. I don't think it's directly related to Nazi propaganda. And there's even some people saying that it's shock marketing, which I just think it's people thinking weirdly about it, and I just think it's just military inspired, really. Just a style design that just backfired a little, because I mean, all of their costumes have been military inspired, and this was bound to happen. I mean, even when they released the first one, I just thought to myself, hey, if this keeps on going on, they'll eventually get to like a little bit Nazi themed, and maybe some people will think it's more Nazi related than it's actually meant to be, and here it happened. But it was actually a rabbi who saw this and demanded that Sony and the producer Yasushi to apologize for this. And actually, there's a quote from him. "We are calling on Sony Music and the group's producer, Yasushi Akimoto, to apologize for this inappropriate and deeply offensive presentation. Watching young teens on the stage and in the audience dancing in Nazi-style uniform causes great distress to the victims of the Nazi genocide." And it further goes on to, "We expect better from the international brand like Sony, which has caused embarrassment to Japan." And that was Rabbi Abraham Cooper who said this. The things that people are making comparisons to are the eagle on the hat and the cape. Akimoto Yasushi actually presented an apology on the Keyakizaka website about this, which led to the whole cancellation of the program that I talked about earlier, and it turned into a big old mess where different news stories are covering it, and it just like snowballed. But I'm really curious to see what you guys think about this. Do you think it's too much Nazi-like, or do you think it was just a coincidence? Because I think it's a little bit of a coincidence. I don't think the designers were intentionally thinking, hey, let's make this based on Nazis. I feel like they got different inspirations and then it just came out to be like this. I'm not too sure if it's actually directly inspired by them. Because as a creative person, you have to kind of get inspiration from different places and then you combine them together and create your own idea. And even in costume design, I imagine they grabbed different ideas and then made it to their own. But I still feel like Sony should have been a little bit more careful with approving of this, as a lot of people get offended easily. But hopefully they overcome through this situation and it doesn't affect Keyakizaka or 46 Group or 48 Group in general, and they can move on and get something better from this. As every human should in general. They should learn from their mistakes and move on forward and become better. Hopefully they do something international to kind of show their repentance, I guess, for this community. But yes, let me know what you guys think down below about this whole situation. It's a little bit sticky situation, but I'd love to know different perspective from you guys as we could discuss about this. But that does it for this week. Be sure to watch last week's video where I talked about the news as well, and watch next week by subscribing and knowing when I upload it. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to comment down below. I really want to know what you guys think and we could talk about it.